Hey everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Movies for Life, and welcome to this 1983 horror movie review as part of my current overall 1980s horror series. So today we're going to take a look at a Stephen King adaptation movie, a movie that I revisited for the first time in many years, and a movie that pleasantly surprised me in a good way. And that movie is that I have on Blu-ray here, Cujo from 1983, of course. There's the front, there's the back. There's not really any special features other than commentary. Um, but yeah, let's talk about Cujo. So, Cujo is a 1983 American horror film directed by Louis Teague, written by Don Carlos Dunaway and Barbara Turner, using pen name Lauren Currier, and stars Dee Wallace, Daniel Hugh Kelly, and Danny Pintaro. And it's an adaptation of Stephen King's 1981 novel by the same name. It follows a mother and her son who are trapped inside their car while protecting themselves from a rabid Saint Bernard. So Cujo, a friendly and easygoing Saint Bernard, chases a wild rabbit and inserts his head into a cave where a rabid bat bites him on the nose. The Trenton family, advertising executive Vic, housewife Donna, and young son Tad take their car to the rural home of an abusive mechanic Joe Camber, who for repairs, where they meet Cujo, the Camber family pet, and get along well with him. Vic and Donna's marriage is tested when Vic learns that Donna has been having an affair with her ex-boyfriend from high school, Steve Kemp. The early signs of Cujo's infection starts to appear, though no one notices. Joe Camber's wife, Charity, and his son, Brett, decide to leave for a week to visit Charity's sister in Connecticut. The furious stage of Cujo's infection sets in. Cujo refrains from attacking Brett, but goes completely mad and kills the Camber's alcoholic neighbor, Gary. Then he mauls Joe to death. So yeah, that's to set up the premise, the beginning of Cujo. As far as the cast goes, we have Dee Wallace as Donna Trenton, Danny Pintaro as Tad Trenton, Daniel Hugh Kelly as Vic Trenton, Christopher Stone as Steve Kemp, and Ed Lauder as Joe Camber. So yeah, that's to set up the premise and the cast for the 1983 Stephen King adaptation Cujo. As I said, I've seen this movie years ago a couple of times. But mostly what you think of when you think of Cujo when you haven't watched the movie is the car scenes, of course, which is that's kind of the moneymaker for this movie. But I actually forgot there's a pretty good setup with this movie, and for the most part it works. I think it's one of Stephen King's better adaptations to movie, frankly. I know it's different than the book, because the book, Cujo, is more of a supernatural, like, incarnation, incarnated evil presence in this dog, basically, which is not the case in the movie. In the movie, it's much more simpler than that, where it's a house pet, it's a friendly dog that unfortunately gets bit by a rabid bat and the rabies take over, and the dog goes crazy, and boy does the dog go crazy. But let's talk about what I like and what I don't like about Cujo. So I think you have to start with Dee Wallace here. I think this might be Dee Wallace's best performance of her career, and that's saying something because she's good in just about everything she's done. I really like her in The Howling. I like her in E.T. I like her in Critters. So she's never really had a bad performance. Some performances she's a little bit more sidelined. Obviously, this movie, she's the main focus, the main character. She's the straw that stirs the drink, other than Cujo, of course. But I thought she portrayed very well. She portrayed a strong but flawed character, fighting for her life and her son's life in a very real and powerful way. Very impressive. Just a very overall impressive performance by Dee Wallace here. So that's the first thing that really stands out having watched this movie again. I also thought the kid, Danny Pintaro, who of course most people are going to know from Who's the Boss, which would come out after this movie. He did that show for 8 years with Tony Danza and Judith Light. I thought he was really good in this movie as a kid actor. As a 7-year-old boy, I thought he gave a very real performance, especially in being scared and authentic. You know, it's not just... He wasn't putting on. It felt very like a 7-year-old. And I can relate to this because I have a 10-year-old son at this point. But I remember when he was about this age, 6 or 7, and sometimes when things weren't going his way, or he was in a situation where he was scared, he would cry for his dad or his mom. So it's just a very realism to it. And I think I don't know how much of it was directing and how much of it was the acting of Danny Pintaro. I'm guessing it was both, but he does a very good job here, especially for a kid actor. I thought it was authentic, so that stood out to me. I think the movie has a good setup of characters before getting to the part of the movie that everyone talks about and remembers, which of course is the second half of the movie where Dee Wallace's character and her son Tad are trapped in this car, and they can't get out at this farm residence here of this mechanic. Um, but there's pretty good setup to it as well, with being introduced to this family, the husband, the wife, and the son, and then having some friction between the husband and wife because the wife has been having an affair with an old friend of the husband's, who's also, I think he's also doing some work on their house or something. So there's definitely some marital problems there, but it all kind of manifests itself to Dee Wallace and Danny Pintaro's characters being stuck in this car at this farmhouse, and there's good reasons for it. It isn't just a typical horror movie setup where, hey, let's drive out in the middle of nowhere and hang out because it'll be fun kind of thing. They're there for a reason. They can't leave for a reason. And I thought all that was set up very well, to be honest with you. That's the part of the movie that I kind of forgot about until watching it this last time. So I give the movie a lot of credit for that. It's not just random. The look of Cujo I thought was very real and effective. Not sure what they used to cover him with, but he's like all wet. He's got like yellow goo, and he's got, of course, the white foaming at the mouth there. And this dog, whoever they used, this Saint Bernard, in real life, I hope he got a lot of milk bones and doggy treats for his performance in this movie, because he very much is a real character. No, I'm sure a lot of it was directing. I'm sure they had some animal handlers and things like that, but this dog sold it, man. I mean, it wasn't just the makeup or whatever they threw on him. I don't know what they did to get this dog to jump up on the car and stuff, but he did a really good job, or she, depending on what the dog is. I'm not really sure. But yeah, the makeup effects that they used, not only on the dog, but on Dee Wallace and Danny Pintaro, in terms of drying out their lips and everything and all the sweat and everything. Very well done. But yeah, the Cujo, this dog in real life was definitely acted like a rabid dog. It wasn't. I was impressed. A rabid dog that could do damage to anyone that got in his way, and it had a very real and freaky feel to it. Effectively creepy and suspenseful with this dog Cujo here. On that point, I thought the attacks and the kills by Cujo, which I believe there's 3 kills. There's the two. There's Joe, the mechanic, and then his alcoholic neighbor, and then this cop comes along later on, and Cujo kills all 3 of them. But I thought the attacks and the kills are really intense and impactful in terms of what they show and how long they last. And the blood and the gore that's involved, mostly blood. But I thought it was very well done. Even the attacks on Dee Wallace, even though the dog obviously doesn't kill her, they really focus on her. When the dog's trying to get in the car and she has to roll up the window, I mean, it's not just a quick cut. I mean, you stay with it for for a while there. It's very, very well done. I think that's the best directing of this movie, are these attack scenes. I think they really do a good job with the directing and the editing, as far as having these attacks seem very real and very impactful here. And then my final pros, as a viewer, you really feel what these characters are going through. Like, I needed to have a bottle of water next to me when I was watching this movie, because I felt thirsty and I felt hot, though I wasn't as sweaty and hot as they were. But I mean, the movie does a really good job with atmosphere of creating that, making you feel that as a viewer. And that's about as high of a compliment as you can give a movie or a TV show, when they can make you feel what the characters in the movie are feeling. Very claustrophobic, obviously, where they're stuck in this car and you feel some of that. Very well executed and directed in that regard. And then I really like the setting of the farm. I mean, it's out in the middle of nowhere. It feels like a real farm. Obviously, their car is parked there in the driveway, and Spoiler alert, for the reason that they can't leave. People say, if you haven't seen the movie, well, why don't they just drive away? Well, the reason they took the car to the farm was because their alternator was going out on it and Joe was going to repair it. Um, and of course, you can say it's convenient, but the alternator dies when when they're pulling in, and then she gets it started again and she starts to leave, but then the alternator dies for good. So again, you can say that's a little bit wah wah as far as the timing of it goes, but that's the reason that they're stuck there and they can't leave. So I mean, like I said, I think the movie does a good job in that regard, but I really do like the setting and the atmosphere that's created in this movie. So yeah, those are the things I really like about Cujo. As far as cons go, I really don't have a whole lot, a little bit nitpicky, but I do have to bring up some of the conveniences and contrivances, like the bat that's laying there in the middle of the yard that she ends up using to get to the house and get some water to her son. That's a little bit convenient. And then the officer's gun conveniently being left and available there towards the end in order for the characters to resolve the situation that they're in. I mean, I guess you have to resolve it somehow, but I mean, I could have used a little bit more than that. That just seemed a little bit contrived to me. Also, I have to say some of the stuff aside from the Cujo stuff having to do with Vic as well as Steve, I felt a little bit boring and a little bit filler almost. Like Vic goes off on this work trip, and part of the reason for it is he leaves after he finds out about the affair that Dee Wallace's character is having. So there's definitely a rift there that plays into it. But then he's trying to call home and stuff, but they actually show a lot of the work related stuff, which really has nothing to do with this movie. Or the character. I don't even think it really fleshes out the character that much. Also, Steve Kemp, who's the affair that Dee Wallace has, her character Donna has with, he just won't take no for an answer. But so eventually, towards the end, he comes to their house when everybody's gone and like rips up pillows and sheets and stuff. And I guess that was supposed to make it look like they were kidnapped by him. I don't know. I guess I can buy that, but there's some slower parts having to do with outside of the Cujo stuff that I thought they could have maybe done more with Cujo at the farm, or they could have just had a little bit better pacing with some of those things. But overall, guys, that's really all I've got. I really enjoy Cujo. It's better than I remember. I think it is one of Stephen King's better adaptations. I mean, it's not as good as Christine or certainly The Shining for my money, but it is good. I really do like Cujo, and I'm going to give Cujo a 7.5 out of 10. Glad to have it as a Blu-ray in my collection. So 7.5 out of 10 for Cujo from 1983, directed by Louis Teague. And of course, it's a Stephen King adaptation. So go ahead and comment down below your guys' thoughts about Cujo. If you like it, if you don't, comment down below. Please like this video, hit the little notification bell, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It would really help me out for the future content on my channel going forward. By the way, I know it's been 5 days between this review and my first one of this series. That's really just because of the 4th of July holiday, and I was traveling, which was kind of last minute. But otherwise, these reviews are going to be within 2 to 3 days at most from here on out, through the end of September. So I just wanted to point that out. But hope everybody had a good 4th for those that celebrated, if you're in the United States here. But yeah, please like this video, hit the little notification bell, and as I said, subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Hope you're enjoying. But as always, stay scared. Bye.